Hey folks, welcome back to our channel. My name is Jake with Seattle Coffee Gear, and today we're going to be showing you how to unclog and clean a Eureka grinder. Today we have the Silenzio 55. I've intentionally clogged it, and I'm going to show you a few quick tips and tricks to both get it unclogged without any tools, and then we'll go into the grinder to make sure that it's unclogged with just a couple simple tools on hand. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and let's get started. On the Silenzio, I mentioned that I intentionally clogged it, so we're going to see the symptom of this being when I hold the grind button down. As you can see, no coffee. The bean hopper's open, but there's no coffee coming out. That's a bummer. You're not getting your morning espresso. 80% of the time when we see a clog on a Eureka, what it is compacted coffee in the bean chamber or someone changing the grind setting without running the grinder. So a really quick first step is to note your grind adjustment. So I have it on 5 here. I'm going to take it 1 rotation coarser, which is counterclockwise in this case. So that way I have it back on 5 on the center, and we're going to give that a shot. And if that doesn't work, then you want to do 1 more adjustment or 1 more rotation counterclockwise. Now, if that did not get the clog cleared up from your grinder and you're not seeing any more coffee or any coffee coming out of the grind chute, go ahead and watch the rest of this video. We'll show you a few quick ways to get into your grinder, clean the grind chute, and make sure that clog is broken up for good. So what you're gonna need is a screwdriver. We have it with a number 2 Phillips bit here. I have one of the multi-bit sets for this screwdriver, so you're also gonna want a flathead, or you can use something like a butter knife, just something with a flat surface. And having a number 1 Phillips is helpful. Not necessary, but it can be helpful. Some of the screws are a little bit smaller than a number 2. And then I also have a bottle brush. We're gonna use this to clean out the chute. And I have just a sweep brush from Palo. That way you can clean out some of the coffee grounds from up above. I've gone ahead and removed the portafilter fork off of the Silenzio here. We're gonna close the bean hopper. You can remove that and just set that to the side. Remember, if your bean hopper is super tight, there's a Phillips screw adjustment here that you'll just want to loosen up. And then with the beans in the chamber, you're just going to want to invert the grinder just to get some of those out. You can give it a good shake or a good tap. And there we have it. So then next, you're going to want to take a look at the rear of your grinder. And you're going to see this Eureka plate. It might be the red one, or if you have an Oro Mignon, it's going to be gold, but you'll see it right here on the back. And that's what the flathead screwdriver is going to be for. So you're just going to lift up, or actually I got it off with my hand. Sometimes it's loose, sometimes you'll need the flathead, so you want to have it on hand anyways. And that exposes the rear top plate screw. So you're going to switch to a Phillips, and we'll take that off. And then you should just be able to lift off that top plate right then and there. And then you'll see we'll have access to the upper burrs. Please remember to unplug your grinder. We don't want to be working on anything that has electricity live to it. So now we have that top plate off. You're going to see 3 screws on the top here. They're just Phillips screws. So we're going to want to remove those. And it is easy to lose the screws down in here, but luckily if you just turn the grinder over, 99% of the time, they come right out. Okay, so I've got the 3 screws removed. You're going to want to set those separately from the screw you removed from the back. They're just slightly different lengths. And you can just pull off the top burr here. This is where you can use your sweep brush or your, any fine bristled brush to sweep off the burrs, give them a good clean. If you have a toothpick, you can get in between the grooves here and near the screws. This Silenzio is pretty new, so I don't find it super necessary to do so, but if you have a few months, few years of use, could be good to get those cleaned out. So that's the upper burr removed, and inside now you'll see the lower burr carrier, as well as part of the grind chute. So we're going to want to take our grinder and invert that again so that we can get some of that like ground coffee out of there. It'll just be a little bit. Give it a good smack, and you'll have a pretty clean lower burr there. Now that you have the grinder flipped around, what you'll see here is the grind chute up front. You'll notice here, it's a little hard to see, but there is definitely compacted coffee in there. There's a clump crusher, a little metal piece that breaks up the clumps, but sometimes what can happen is that causes a clog, and then now that the coffee can't push out, that's where your clog lies. So I have a bottle brush, but you can use a lot of different flexible tools. We heard of people using zip ties. You can use a toothpick if you want to get in there. I just like using this bottle brush because it's flexible, easy to use, and it's pretty wide. Before we do that, you're going to want to put a container under the chute. It's going to be a little bit messy, and that's okay. So I'm going to take the bottle brush, and you're just going to want to slide it through this grind chamber. Coffee grounds will be coming out at this point, so we're clearing up that clog. Be gentle, don't go all the way down, because as mentioned, that clump crusher is a little delicate, so just the first inch or so is good. And then if your grinder is super clogged or you haven't cleaned it in a few years, you can also vacuum from the bottom of this chute with everything put back together. That's a really good way to clean out a super clogged up chute. But this is looking good, so I'm just going to take a brush just to loosen the rest of the particles off of the lower burr. I'm going to give that one more flip just to make sure everything's out, and then at that point vacuum things out. You can use a vacuum with a hose attachment to get all the rest of that out, and then we'll just back the steps back up in reverse to put your grinder back together. So upper burr, we're going to put the 3 Phillips screws back on, and you want to be pretty tight with this. Just do one screw, semi-tight, not fully tight, and then do them all the way around, and then tighten them up one final time before you put that top plate back on. That way it has even pressure. With flat burrs, you want them to be pretty flush to each other, pretty even. Now I'm going back and just giving everything a really good last tightening. Now we have the upper burr back on. We can put the top plate back on. So that kind of just slides in behind the grind dial, as well as there's 2 little tabs that need to slide up on here. So then we're going to put the screw back in the rear. Put the Shield logo back on. And you can put your hopper back on at this point. Okay, and then you can tighten down your hopper with the Phillips if you wish. So there you have it. That should be a pretty much clean Eureka grinder. We've cleared out that clog, and let's give it a test to see how that worked. So I'm going to plug the grinder back in. All right, so now that we have the grinder all put back together, I'm going to switch it on. We're going to open the bean hopper gate, don't forget that. And we're going to run it with the button up front with this container. And there you go. So we have an unclogged Eureka grinder. Well, I hope we were able to get your Eureka Mignon grinder back up and running and that clog cleared out. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it and subscribe to our channel. And down in the description below, you'll see a link to sign up for our newsletter. That way you can stay up to date with coffee content, news, and blog posts that we put out. Thank you so much for watching, and keep making coffee you love.